So actually, Randy popped off. So actually, we should have someone read the opening bit. I just haven't realized.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You want to rock paper scissors for it?
I'll just go.
Okay.
Welcome, friends, Romans, countrymen, and Mioris! This is episode 356 of An Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 3rd of June, 2020, featuring The Romans by Dennis Spooner and starring William Hartnell as the Doctor, Jacqueline Hill as Barbara Wright, William Russell as Ian Chesterton, and Maureen O'Brien as Vicky. I am one of your hosts, Mehmet Witchell, also the technical operator. With me currently is Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
I'm still alive, and hope springs eternal. Never forget that.
And Thomas Fireheart.
They didn't even play Wonderwall.
Randy Ronson McCulloch is currently AFK, I think due to personal issues. Medicine issues, more likely. And Bill the Man in Black. Oh! Randy?
Did you start?
Yes.
Okay.
And Bill the Man in Black is currently unavailable due to technical issues. His microphone just refuses to work.
Yeah, he's tried a few times. We've waited long enough.
Yep, we need to
Yes.
get going. So, hello.
He might be writing down his thoughts for us to read out, but it'll depend, really.
Yep. And I'm going to now go AFK for a brief moment and get a drink. So, continue.
Oh, he started, then got a drink. Okay. I'd known that, I would have waited until, Geek Talk, but...
Timing.
Oh, well. So... How's the last few days been for all of you?
Oh, it's been,
not too bad.
the news is a bit depressing, but I'm giving the middle finger to the world and saying you're not stifling my optimism and my hope and my love of humanity.
You see, I've had the absolute opposite effect. Because we were talking about that in the car. It's like, yes, I hate black people, but then again, I hate white people and people of all colors and nationalities, pretty much equally. It's like, oh, so you're antisocial? No, I'm just really, really jaded. I've spent way too long working tech support. After that, you come to the basic opinion that all of humanity sucks, and that everybody is stupid.
Well, I mean, it pretty much took me to working the cleaning job that I've worked the past couple of years to finally just be like, yeah, pretty much everyone in my hometown is a fucking idiot.
Oh, no. It goes beyond the hometown. The idiocy lasts all over the globe. I don't know what point I got this jaded. It might have been when a quadriplegic professor called me up at 4 a.m. to delete porn off of his computer before his wife woke up. At that point, my brain is just like, no, I'm done. Done, checked out, nope.
Boop.
But I enjoyed our brief cool down we had for like all of 2 days.
Yeah. It was nice and breezy yesterday.
Oh, no. For us, that not yesterday here.
Oh,
yesterday
no.
was
Yesterday was trying to
freaking
cook it
90s.
slate to 90, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I looked at the weather thing for tomorrow. It's like, okay, I'm turning on the air conditioning now. But the day before that was kind of warm. It was the day before that. So I think Sunday was just cool and just letting the fan on medium, and that was cooling the house nicely. And I'm just like, this is what the weather's supposed to be like.
Whereas it's actually been oddly consistently cool in Australia, when usually the past couple of years it's been like, oh, it's actually cold today, and then summer decided to show up again. But this time it's actually been consistently cool to cold, like for the past week or so.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I am still waiting for the inevitable Mad Max apocalypse. I'm pretty certain by now it's going to happen. Global warming is going to cause the oceans to vanish, and everybody's going to be fighting over fuel and water, and
then the giant mechs come out and they start trying.
the hodgepodge automobiles and.
When do the apes take over?
Sometime after global thermonuclear annihilation, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
Well, there's the chance of that. There's the chance of the Mad Max syndrome, or there's the chance of the Fist of the North Star syndrome.
Or, of course, the machines could just decide to kill us all at any moment.
And just terminate everything, yep.
We've got our choices of possible future, yeah.
Let's just Skynet the whole kit and caboodle.
Yep, just kill us all.
Transmitting into space, please.
Which I guess is another argument.
That we were saying about the SpaceX guys. Congratulations, you two. You've got off the planet. You might not want to come back.
At least not for a couple months.
Yeah, but it's another one of those things that leads into humanity is dumb, because it's like you hear about these projects of so you're basically making Skynet. We have like an entire film franchise telling you why that's a bad idea.
Yeah. And I remember a few years ago reading how scientists were basically trying to use, the big freaking accelerator in Europe to recreate the Big Bang. And I'm like, this is a bad idea. This is a very bad idea.
Yes.
Oh, don't worry. The explosion they're planning is only a quarter of the size of the original. Well, that'll just make a quarter the size of the universe, won't it? How big is Earth in comparison to that?
That or they'll accidentally make a black hole and just suck us all in. But I was in the middle of watching Doctor Who.
But it's like I hear stuff like that, and my brain goes, "This is a bad idea, guys." And they're like, "But we can do it because it's science." And I'm like,
Scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yep.
It's one of those situations where you're like, so maybe this mad scientist plot from a TV show or a movie isn't that far-fetched.
See, exactly.
So, guys, you're making an explosion that created the universe. Don't.
You're going to go down in history right next to Albert Einstein's brother Frank. Total monster. I'm also sure that in 1,000 years, the history books will talk about the four Marx brothers: Groucho, Chico, Zeppo, and Carl. Anyway, on the subject of revisionist history, on tonight's show, we've got birthdays. At this point, I'm pretty much canceling the news until they actually start coming out with anything worthwhile.
Womp.
We've got Geek Talk. Then we have our episode summary, followed by historical fact check.
Oh yeah.
I'll talk a bit about Emperor Nero. And then our episode review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So, birthdays. Well, we've got 2 birthdays this week. Starting with May 29th was the birthday of Pearl Mackie, who played Bill in 2017. She turned 33. Then today, on June 3rd, is the birthday of Penelope Wilton, who played Harriet Jones, MP for Flysdale North.
Oh.
You missed it. Anyway, from 2005
yes, we know who you are.
I was waiting. You kind of missed your cue.
Sorry, we're out of practice. We haven't talked to her often.
She turned 74. So those are our 2 birthdays. Happy birthday, Pearl. Happy birthday, Penelope. And like I said, there is no news. Our first piece of Geek Talk was going to be from Bill, but that will have to hold until next week.
Yep.
Yeah. So instead, 3 things of anime in a row, pretty much.
All right, that reminds me. So I had to pull this
so-
up. I'm getting out the stopwatch, and also still because we're late, we're going to keep the 5-minute rule.
Yep.
I will give you a 4.5-minute warning. So begin.
Okay, so Beastars, basically Zootopia for adults. I mean, you know, even I watched a video that was like, well, you know, that's a bit of a simplification, but I mean, it kind of is. I mean, it's still like essentially a high school set anime, but everyone's animals. And it's kind of funny because even like Zootopia, they go for like relative heights. I mean, they're not, you know, completely going for accuracy, obviously, but there are like there's a few animals that are like, oh shit, almost stepped on you, and some other things and stuff like that. And you know, it was funny watching this between watching Evangelion, because I was like, oh, this will probably be a bit more lighthearted. The show literally opens with a murder. So it's like, oh, maybe not. I mean, it is quite lighthearted, and there's a lot of like there is a lot of comedy in it, but and it's actually kind of funny because you think that by the end of the season, the murder at the start is actually going to be like solved or something, but they kind of drop that. And then like they bring it back up that it's like, damn, it's been however long and they still haven't solved it. And it already has been greenlit for a season 2 that, due to the pandemic, probably won't come out until like 2022 or something.
If it does, if it comes out at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, things will be canceled outright if they can't find a tower budget for it.
Yeah. Because yeah, I think it was supposed to come out I think it was supposed to come out 2021 anyway, but it'll still probably end up getting pushed back. Depending on if they're able to work on it remotely. It's interesting because this anime is entirely, well, I say entirely, but the character models are all CG. And while this usually would bug me with like normal humans, I think it actually works better because they're not. Just like something about the CG animation just works for these anthropomorphic animals better than it usually looks for humans.
From what I'm reading, this is almost like the Japanese take on the webcomic Kevin and Kel.
I mean, it is based on a manga series called Beastars, and I forget how long that had been running before they started.
2016 to present. Currently,
so
18
it's still
volumes.
going, and it's been going for like about 4 years.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, it's honestly, yeah, it's a very interesting watch. I can't speak to the original Japanese voice acting, but I think the dub is actually pretty good. Which I will say, I mainly watched the dub because I wanted to watch an anime while I ate, and I didn't want to have to be looking away from the screen. Yeah. I didn't really want to have to concentrate on reading. But the dub is pretty good. There are a lot of voices that I could recognize. Pretty much the only primary female character is actually voiced by someone from the original Digimon Adventure dub, who played Kairi, I think.
Kari?
Akari. Which is funny because in this, you know, it's more adult. I'll leave it at that, and she's a rabbit, so you can kind of
figures
get it from that. But yeah, so it's funny hearing that voice coming out of that character, considering some of the stuff that comes up with that character. But yeah, I'd heard of this anime before,
30 seconds.
but just hadn't really ever gotten around to it. But now that I've got Netflix again, I decided to give it a watch. But yeah, yeah, I'd basically just say, yeah, give this a watch. There's, oh god, just know that it's not always lighthearted. I mean, it's obviously not a typical high school anime. So just keep that in mind when you watch it.
All right. Reset. And what's the next thing?
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, right.
Which
The next
I
couple
might,
things are Neon Genesis. So technically a two-parter on these.
yeah, I might honestly just lump these together and just cover these at once. Just because it's still the same franchise, but
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so it's kind of amazing to me that it's taken me this long to watch Neon Genesis Evangelion the whole way through. I feel like I've seen the odd episode here and there. I know for a fact that I had seen Asuka's introduction before. But not that whole episode, but at least the bit where she does get introduced. And that was like the original dub, whereas I was watching this on Netflix and I just decided, you know what? I think I'll just watch this in Japanese as subtitle. Because I don't think I've heard much good stuff about the Netflix. Like, normally I would just go for a dub, but in this case I just decided to watch it all.
I've heard very mixed.
Subtitled.
There are fanboys of the original dub that don't stop screeching, and there's people who went, I've never saw the original and it's perfectly fine.
And I mean, I might watch it back dubbed, but yeah. It's interesting to me how the anime kind of it's weird because I always was under the impression that it was an anime that started off light, then went nuts. Whereas it seems more like it starts off kind of like foreshadowing the later tone of like there's a lot of stuff it's not so much insane, but it's just intense moments here and there. And then there's like a decent episode stretch in the middle where it kind of lulls you into a false sense of security. But thankfully I knew what was coming anyway. To like just to pop culture osmosis, I had some knowledge of it. This just goes absolutely insane. So I was prepped for it. Though I do think it was a good thing that I spaced this out over 3 days. I watched like 10 episodes one day, and then like the final 16 episodes over the next 2 days.
I did too.
And
it
yeah,
still
like
fucks me up.
It's funny because I kept making jokes in places where I was like, oh, I'm finally getting around to watching this show. Pray for my sanity, or what remains of it. And I'm like, and I think the only reason this didn't affect me anywhere near as much as I thought it would, which is like barely, it barely affected me, was that I was prepped by having watched shows and movies with similar things where it kind of just goes off the rails at one point. Like watching Madoka Magica, having seen Akira before now, stuff like that, and whatever.
I'd seen Akira before I saw this. It still affected me, but yeah. At this point, it's become almost natural for like 10 years for them to do shit like this.
Yeah. And even then, I even like after watching End of Evangelion, it occurred to me, yeah, if I'd watched this as a teenager, holy crap, therapy. I would have needed therapy. But because I'm watching this when I'm almost 30 for the first time, and I've kind of been building up to this, that Like, and I think also part of it might have just been that I was psyching myself out of just trying to get really pumped for it. It's like, okay, this is probably going to affect me. I'm going to put up barriers so I don't. And then just, yeah, surprisingly, it did. Like, it might have, like, certain things affected me, but not, like, long term. And as far as, like, the ending of the show goes, I actually was kind of surprised at how much it didn't bother me with it, that like how the final 2 episodes go, just knowing that there was a lot of backlash at the time to how it ended, and I'm just kind of like, you know what, this is actually a fairly unique way of ending it, like, even though they only really ended it that way because of the budget.
And I
20
think
seconds.
I think because Anno had a breakdown.
Probably, but yeah, it was generally possibly multiple reasons why
10
that it
seconds.
just had to end this way. But yeah, I'll say this much. I would recommend people check this out purely because it's such an iconic anime, but if you have photosensitive epilepsy, watch this dubbed, because that way you can look away from the screen when there's flashing lights. Because goddamn, do they love doing that a lot.
My
Oh,
birdie
yeah,
Especially in these
yeah.
last couple.
Oh yeah, this was before the Pokemon episode of Doom
Oh yeah,
that got
that sends people into
everybody
seizures even in Japan.
that got
Mm.
everybody aware that lights did that, because before cartoons did that all the time in like both American and Japanese, but it was that
Mm.
one episode of Pokemon that just sent people into seizures, and so after that it became a thing not to do that,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
if you do it,
They had to do
warn
it. They had to
people
do it a
first.
particular way. Yeah, make sure that they
Yeah.
didn't recreate it.
Yeah, so moving right through to end of Evangelion, this was the one where I was like, I finished Neon Genesis Evangelion yesterday morning, and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to watch End of Evangelion now. I'm not going to bother watching anything in between. Even though I was like, okay, this is the one I remember people saying, this will probably fuck you up. And I just sat through it, and I'm like, for someone who is prone to having existential crises, this is oddly not affecting me at all. Or at least not much. So that was also weird, to the point that I was almost like, oh god, what does that say about me that this is not affecting me at all? I mean, there's still bits that like get to me, but again, it's like short term, not even long term. I can tell you that literally the last thing that happens, not necessarily the last action, but the last word said, made me laugh my ass off. Because it was just like, what the fuck kind of kind of thing was that to end on? It was kind of hilarious to me. It was just like, if it had ended before that final word, I would have been like, huh, well, that was an experience. But it was just that one final thing that they got in there at the end that just was like, was that intentional? Because that seemed really funny.
Yeah, I think you might need therapy.
Peggy that boy right.
Because again, it's not what Shinji's doing to Asuka, it's her reaction that I was just like, really?
know.
That's what we're ending on?
That's still, yeah. I remember watching that going, oh my god.
Yeah, because it caught me off guard, because it was, but in a way that made me laugh rather than be like horrified. I guess just because it made me think of the pathetic meme, which now I know where that comes from. Because I'd always seen the Simpsons variation, so I was like, wait, is it from that? And then, something happens in this movie where it's like, oh, that's where it came from. But yeah, there was... I'll say this much. This is a movie that really should have messed with me, because, yeah, I am prone to questioning reality, existential crises. But for whatever reason, no. I think it's just because these days real life fucks me up more than fantastical stuff. So this is so over the top fantastic that I'm just like, yeah, I'm just rolling with it. It is like I have no idea what's going on, but I'm just like, okay, yep, this is happening now. um and then of course I was making jokes about it after the fact. I was just like singing he's got the whole world in his hands and stuff like that about certain moments. And like, yeah, I think that was probably just how I dealt with it. And again, it was probably just like a matter of it's been hyped up so much of like, oh my god, this is the biggest mindfuck ever. That just like lessened it for me because I was expecting like it to be way up there, and just due to watching other stuff,
You've got
I was kind of like,
desensitized.
yeah. So it was just like, eh. I mean, I still enjoyed the movie and the show, but it was still just like, yeah, it's one of those issues of like seeing something that probably inspired stuff that came after it before you see the thing that inspired stuff.
More than likely.
So, because yeah, then you get around to seeing the originals, like, oh, I've seen this before. I mean, not this exact thing. But yeah.
I have one thing to say to you, though. Congratulations.
I
feel
God,
sick.
yeah. I did jokingly I almost made a post somewhere where I was like, that, like, the reaction when you actually make it through this mentally unscathed, and it was just a congratulations gift.
Now-
yay, you made it through unscathed.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
Got derailed with a joke.
Now, if you're doing that and cracking jokes while watching Grave of the Fireflies, then you seriously need therapy. That's not a what
I have
the fuck
not seen that
mindset.
yet.
That's just fucking depressing.
Mm. Oh yeah, that will probably. I mean, friggin' hell, Spirited Away makes me cry, so I would be surprised if I got through Grave of the Fireflies without crying.
I don't know, Randy. I survived now and again here and there without too much problem. A little bit of problem,
Yeah.
but not too much.
I
That
remember
was
the
years
day-
ago.
I remember the day I got let go from my job at the university. I went home and I watched Grave of the Fireflies and I laughed through all of it. I realized at that point I needed help.
Yeah.
It
So like,
wasn't sane laughter either. It was closer to Joker laughter.
Yeah, this is run over for about a minute now. Let him finish.
yeah. So yeah, if you like Neon Genesis Evangelion, I would say check out End of Evangelion, depending on who you are. Like, this is a thing of like, I kind of have to know who you are and what you can handle, whether I would necessarily recommend it. And this is also another situation of, if you're photosensitive, maybe watch it dubbed, because there are moments in the movie as well, probably not as many as the show, where it's like, yeah, if that's a problem you have,
All right. Stopping, resetting, and done with End of Eva?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The last thing is mine. This is Wolfenstein 3D. This is actually, this game came first compared to Spirit Destiny, even though Spirit Destiny was a prequel that was made later. Like the year after, I think. So it was like 94 it came out. So this is from 1993. This is probably the first really popular first-person shooter. There were first-person shooters for PC before this point, but they were nowhere near as popular, and most of them were oddly enough RPGs. I've come to find out. All of them were really slow, almost to the point of feeling like they were turn-based, and essentially what it did is they saw what they were doing and went, nah, we can do better. Matter of fact, we will take your engine, modify it up a little bit so it's actual 3D to some degree, and we're going to make everything happen in real time. And so that's where Wolfenstein 3D was born. I think they were still playing something else in the meantime for what it was going to be, but apparently as they were working on it, they realized they had a backlog of some games and realized there was this Wolfenstein World War II game they made that was kind of like a maze slash platformer thing for like Atari or something like that. It was really old. It actually might have been Commodore, but anyway, they figured out, oh, you know what? We could probably just take that and restart the franchise and just give it a coat of paint as to what we're actually doing here, and went with it. I will say that I think I just happened to finally slip into the mindset of this game or what the deal is, because I remember Spirit Destiny last quarter of it or so, I suddenly had to bring it down a notch in difficulty because there's only 4 difficulties. I was originally playing it on 3 and suddenly it became too hard for one level, and I had to play the rest of the game on the second difficulty. I beat all of Wolfenstein 3D on the 3rd difficulty this time. And also, I would add that I managed to defeat the final chapter, all 9 levels in less than 55 minutes. Which is quite the feat for me, because I believe the entire rest of the game took me an additional 3 or 4 episodes to play through. So each chapter was usually taking like 2 hours for me, and then the last chapter I just breezed through it. Apparently I've been practicing a lot, and I just went, I'm a monster now? Watch me as I just wreck this entire level in one go. They had some pretty interesting bosses, especially at the end of the game. If you don't know what the end boss is, I'm not going to ruin it for you. But I'll say it's also probably one of the earliest games I can remember of that had a multi-tier end boss. He comes in multiple forms. Yeah, you basically at the end of Wolfenstein 3D, you as BJ Blazkowicz end World War II. That's a thing.
By the way, the original Wolfensteins were Apple II games.
They were Apple II, okay. I knew there were some. Richard said Atari, but I'm like, no, wait, no, I think they were like an old PC of some kind. I forget which one it was, though.
Apple II and Commodore 64.
Oh, I did mention Commodore 64, so I was partially right. So Apple IIs as well. But yeah. Then because of the success of Wolfenstein 3D, obviously, Spirit Destiny happened not long afterwards. And after that, it decided they wanted to make their own engine from scratch and do even more stuff, and that's where Doom comes from.
Yeah, you had described this as being the first wildly popular one. I would say fairly popular, because I think Doom wins the award for wildly popular.
Yeah, I will say Doom was the Wolfenstein games were fairly popular, but Doom was so wildly popular that they gave up on the format of the shareware by the time Doom 2 came around. Because Doom 2 is more or less the same engine with a few more tweaks, but they just completely gave up on shareware and went, yeah, you're buying the full game now. Come on, you know you want it.
Yeah, and that was something that they would do, too, because they did the same thing with Heretic versus Hexen. They would just give you a shareware version, but if you want to buy the next game of it, you got to pay.
Actually, Heretic and Hexen were made by Raven Studios, so it wasn't id anymore for those.
Yeah, but it was.
But they used the same engine though, yeah. They bought the engine and made their own fantasy version of it, which I played all the way through the first Heretic. I have yet to get very far in Hexen. I just remember it feeling like a very, very long game because it also doesn't have like level by level like the other games do. It's actually a game that tries to keep track of everything, and it's just like, wow, how long does this thing go?
You got anything more to say?
Any more to think? I guess final thoughts on it. I really enjoyed it. I'm very happy that the end of it went off so well. I will say that even though I did defeat it in 55 minutes, I think the last 5 to 10 minutes was me trying to take down the final boss. So yeah, it took multiple tries on that one, but I did get it eventually. And it's a fun romp, especially if you get some minor tweaks to like make it widescreen and make it keyboard and mouse compatible properly.
So, by the way, the last game that tried to be 3D without being 3D prior to this was Ultima Underworld.
Yeah. Well, Ultima
was-
Underworld was one of the games that inspired them to do this.
Mm-hmm. That was basically the year before.
Yeah, that was that was a year or so before, and they're like, we can up the ante on this and make it much faster. Because Ultima Underworld still kind of, it's not really turn-based, but it's so sluggish in its combat that it almost feels like it.
It does. All right.
But yeah.
You've had your time.
Yep.
All right. So now we go to the episode summary. Who was supposed to do the episode summary tonight?
Matt. I
Oh.
think.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's Matt.
Yeah, it's you, because everyone else is gone, so we're cycling around.
Cycling back around town. All right. So
Kind of funny, I think, how we've had consistently 2 people in a row going from Geek Talk to the summary.
So I'm gonna pull up the image here for the viewers at home to see. Are we ready?
Just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so we start the episode off with the TARDIS landing on the cliff, but it's wobbling back and forth. Ian starts to comment on it when the entire crew goes head over heels in the TARDIS room, and the TARDIS itself flips off the cliff and crash lands at an angle. We fade into the opening title, and then fade back out to see Ian reaching for his face, only to be suddenly putting a big group of grapes into it and then eating. Turns out that they have left the TARDIS, found a nearby Roman home, and have decided to occupy it temporarily, pretending to essentially be caretakers while the masters were away, and started gathering stuff for themselves and are essentially taking a vacation. Seems to be something that always goes wrong for them, a vacation. And sure enough, as this is happening, a musical man is coming through the area, and he's doing essentially a town-by-town show on his way to the Emperor to give off his final big performance and stay there for a while, apparently. And as he's doing this, apparently assassins have been sent after him, as the assassins themselves believe that he is trying to get close to the Emperor to kill him, it seems. The doctor gets involved by accidentally finding the old man's body after he was killed by an assassin. He picks up the loot and then feigns to be Maximus and proceeds to head towards Rome, where he was headed in the first place. The others get caught by slavers who find out about their location in town and are intrigued in capturing people that they, I believe, due to dialogue, had from a distance that they must be from Britannia. They manage to capture Ian and Barbara, while Vicky's away with the doctor, pretending to be Maximus. Ian is separated from Barbara as he is taken onto a warboat or something to the effect. He's put on oars, and he and one of the other captives managed to break free after a huge thunderstorm that sank the boat. And they proceed to head into Rome as well, as Barbara's already there and has been sold off to, I guess it's a priest of some kind in the Emperor's palace. She is to be the new caretaker for the Empress and is supposed to help clean up after her, and doing other duties such as that around the household. And it turns out that the Emperor suddenly has an eye for her, even though she's very nervous about it and tries to keep away from him. As this is all going on, all of them eventually show up there. Ian gets caught with the other guy, and they are forced to become gladiators. Barbara is brought to the arena where they want to, where the Emperor wants to vent, and so he has the two new gladiators come out to fight each other. They tried to save Barbara, but end up having to run for their own sakes, as she's currently somewhat safe, but is still being brought back to the Emperor's palace to be held as prisoner and trying to lure the two wannabe gladiators out to try and get them killed by the soldiers. As this is all going down, the doctor is trying to figure out how to fake his way through being a musician, and realizes, thanks to the high priest, that he's under threat of being killed in the arena. And as he is feigning to be okay with the idea of doing a show in the arena, he accidentally sets the Emperor's plans for New Rome on fire, which then gives the Emperor the idea that, you know what? No, this is the greatest idea. We'll just set current Rome on fire, then they can't tell me no about rebuilding it. And so he sends for people to come to the palace, gives them torches, and tells them to go to special locations to set fires. Ian is amongst them. He meets up with Barbara. The two of them escape the palace together with the other torchbearers and head back to where they originally were hiding to begin with when they first came to Rome, or the Rome area. And the Doctor and Vicky also make their escape in the middle of the night as everyone else is too busy watching the city burn. They meet up. Ian and Barbara try to tell them what they had done, but aren't given a chance, and they kind of decide that the Doctor wouldn't believe them anyways. And they head back to the TARDIS of the Doctor and Vicky to head off on their next adventure, as they also are kind of warning Vicky, well, the Doctor kind of knows where he's going. Sort of. Sometimes, maybe. And that's the end of the episode.
As they get ensnared into the worst episode ever.
Yep, as they land, but then get pulled in. The end.
By the way, Tavius was not a priest. He was a high-ranking member of Nero's court. So
they seem to hint at him being a priest, but they really didn't say that.
No,
at least that I caught.
He wasn't a priest. He was a Christian.
Yeah, as it turns out.
He was a secret Christian because that was illegal at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, this was the era that they threw Christians to the lions.
Yep.
So no, he was just like a major domo kind of person. He ran around and did stuff for the Emperor. Anyway,
got servants, was ordered people around for the Emperor when they need extra pointers and so forth. Yeah. And he was also behind the plot to kill the Emperor.
Yep. Probably to stop him from killing Christians.
Possibly.
Anyway, so let's do a little historical fact check on our major historical figure here, Emperor Nero. It's hard to tell in history because there's only 4 real sources about Emperor Nero that have survived history. All 4 of them hated him.
Yeah, that seems to be a thing about a lot of Roman and Greek rulers.
From what we can tell, Nero was a historical revisionist himself.
That doesn't surprise me.
He spent his entire career trying to replace the history of the people before him with the glory of Nero. And then the people that came after him basically spent their amount of time trying to tear Nero down and do this basically portray him as a monster. And he might have been. He was probably at least insane because the Caesarian dynasty at that point was horribly inbred. And we know what that does to people, and insanity is one of the major ones. All 4 of them do agree that he is responsible for the Great Fire of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is kind of wishy-washy on it, but the others are like, yeah, he did it. And the other one's like, he probably did it. The whole thing about him fiddling or playing the lyre while Rome burned is probably just propaganda from the dynasty after his.
Yeah, you gotta remember all these different families were all technically dynasties, and all of them hated the previous one and would always make up shit. So you have to be very careful who you believe. And even then, we're not sure if they're 100% truthful either way.
It is known that he did have a disdain for the outdated architecture of Rome. And then he did want to build his golden house, which included a 30-meter tall statue of himself. A thing that never happened because I believe he was finally killed 5 years after this. He
Wouldn't
was
surprise me.
a very huge egalitarian, as they do actually portray that correctly. It is said that one time he entered himself in the Olympics, which were still going on in Greece while this was going on, and he made it so that he won every event he was in, including a chariot race he didn't even finish.
Okay.
Hmm.
Did he somehow wreck the other chariots or something?
No, he crashed and then walked off. They gave him the not the gold medal, but they gave him the victory anyway, basically saying, "Oh yeah, well if he hadn't crashed, he would have won."
Oh, jeez.
Because he's the fucking emperor, and if they didn't, he would probably have had them killed. You do remember at this point, Greece is a vassal state of Rome, so.
At this point, Greece is just gotta be going, oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and it was Nero's thought that he was supposed to be the greatest person in the world. He was supposed to be freaking, what we decided Leonardo da Vinci was later. He was supposed to be the greatest artist, the greatest musician, the greatest this, at least in his own mind. And nobody would tell him otherwise because he would have them killed.
His own demented little brain.
It's a way to live in a bubble.
So, that part is probably true because, like I said, he was pretty much insane. And apparently, what do you call it when you basically think you're a god? Megalomaniac.
Mm-hmm.
Brain just forgot the word for a moment. But yeah, 5 years after this, he's eventually killed, which leads to a period of civil unrest before the Flavian dynasty takes over. So I would say, based on what we know, this is fairly accurate, but what we know might be biased.
Yeah,
That's kind of my understanding, is because a lot of our information comes from people that really hated them, so it's obviously biased. It's like, yeah, some of it's probably true, but they probably only focused on the severe negatives too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was watching the behind the scenes thing, I think the only inaccuracy that I can recall that they called out was more so like a general Rome thing, where it was like when they're having that banquet, they would have actually been lounging around, not sitting at tables. But that, and like even the director points out, if we wanted to get everyone in that space, we weren't going to be able to have them lounging around on things.
Yeah,
that was them.
Set.
Yeah, so that was them knowing what was the right thing to do, but like we can't because we don't have a big enough space.
Yeah, and that was also the same problem for the gladiatorial fight, which would have happened in the Colosseum, which would have been a lot larger space, but they had to do it on the restriction of they have a tiny ass set.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, this is still the days that Doctor Who was functionally being filmed in a closet.
Yeah. Obviously stock footage of animals is stock footage. There's no way they would have been able to afford to get an animal on set.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to our likes and dislikes. We will start with what Bill has written.
Yes.
So, what he liked was he enjoyed the way the TARDIS crew are brought together in different ways. Once they get to Rome, Vicky accidentally saving Barbara's life, the Doctor almost ending up in the arena. At the same time, Ian is escaping from it, and the way the stories coincide, etc., etc. I agree, but I will talk about what I liked in a bit. Instead, we will go to Tim.
Oh boy. I just have to tip my hat to the actor who portrayed Nero. I thought he did a real job balancing the duality of, like, at times he was like this bumbling buffoon, like comical, almost comic relief, versus
Yeah.
like the actual dangerous, psychotic mass murderer that history reports that he was.
By the way, that was Derek Francis.
Okay.
And he was a comedy character actor.
Mm.
Yeah.
He was a regular in the Carry On films.
I'll have to check those out. But yeah, you know, like I thought he did a good job, like switching between the polar extremes of that.
Of course, you know, the way he was chasing after Barbara, they could have had him played by Benny Hill.
Because it's funny, I'm just learning that that actor was in a comedy show in the late 60s and throughout, well, at the very least, he might have been in it when it was in the 60s. That was about Pompeii, and it was a comedy as well.
By the way, that would have been my vote for a bump, Matt.
Benny
That
Hill.
scene where he's chasing Barbara throughout the palace, just done to yakety sax.
Yeah, I just ran out of time. I had a few quickie ideas too, but I'm like, I just don't have time. I need to get right into setup right now.
Either that or I would have gotten the scene where the doctor is fake playing the liar and would have just thrown in something modern like frickin' Queen or something. Just have the frickin' playing Bicycle or something.
No. I got the perfect one. It'd be Edgar Winter's Frankenstein. He's getting really good guitar sounds out of that liar.
Metallica's Unforgiven.
Well, I was thinking of just something without lyrics because he doesn't sing.
No, I was just thinking of that opening that they yeah.
The beginning of Unforgiven. Sure, that's a possibility too.
All right. So where were we at? I kind of lost my.
That was me. Oh, was it me? No, that was we were just talking about the opening.
That was
we did Tim's. Was it? Yeah.
So Thomas.
Yep. Honestly, I like even though this does have a lot of comedy in it, I do like that they still go out of their way to treat some of the more serious stuff seriously, because it very easily could have just treated everything as comedic. But, you know, both the writer and the actors and that everyone involved was still like, well, yeah, this stuff should still be taken seriously.
Yeah,
like
there's
here
definitely
and
some stuff
there
you still need to take seriously.
Yeah. Like the whole like slavery subplot. Like as much as like, you know, they kind of play it for comedy of Nero chasing Barbara around. Like the initial slavery stuff and a lot of the later stuff as well, they just generally still take very seriously.
And the shit that happens to Ian.
Yeah.
Conscripted onto a bireme and made to row.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt.
Oh gosh. Speaking of characters I really liked in this, what's the guy's name now? I called him the priest. So he's not a priest.
He's Tavius.
Tathius.
Yes.
I really liked him because I'm sitting here the entire time going, there's something more about this guy, but we're not figuring it out right away. He's giving Barbara the weird eye, but it's not like the super creepy weird eye. It's like, what is this guy's deal? And slowly, as we continue the episodes, we just layer by layer him. Like, oh, he's actually trying to be helpful. Oh, he actually doesn't plan to actually hurt anybody. Oh, he is actually part of this plot to get rid of the Emperor. Oh, he actually wants the Emperor dead. Okay. Oh, he's actually going to help Ian and the others escape. Okay, this is really weird. What is he up to? And then his last scene in the episode is literally him holding onto a crucifix. I'm like, oh, holy cow.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he was actually supposed to be a court eunuch, because that was a thing back then.
Because it's funny that you say that, because immediately, in hindsight, I'm like, huh, he's kind of like that guy from Game of Thrones, who's for some reason I'm blanking on the name of, but yeah, like the eunuch in that.
Mm-hmm. Although less of a
similar tone and voice in a way too.
Tavius, yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, usually that kind of household keeper, the guy that hires slaves and everything. Generally, those were eunuchs that did those because they were higher ranking slaves. But I'm not sure if that was currently going on in that part in that particular part of Rome or not.
Looked him up really quickly, by the way. He made an appearance in the British The Avengers TV series in '66, and he was also in a Robin Hood movie.
Michael Peake.
Yeah. When was the Robin Hood movie? 57 to 50. No, it must have been a series. 57 to 59.
Yeah, there's been a few Robin Hood series. Okay. So what I liked, and I will tell you right now that this is also Bill's dislike, is the fact of the coincidence that they would always go around and just miss each other.
Oh gosh.
The doctor hurries Vicky along just as Barbara's coming up on the stage. Barbara's absent when the doctor makes his performance. So they never see each other and they never know it's there. It's very Shakespearean.
Yeah. And like there's even the bit where it's like, okay, come on, we'll go out, and I was like, I'll take you out with me to see this girl. Oh wait, no, I should probably go out there. Oh no, it's like, oh, bring her in. Oh wait, no, actually it'll probably make more sense if I go out to her. So they miss her in that way.
Yeah, but it reminds me of coincidences like you would see in Shakespeare's A Comedy of Errors, where the characters that look like each other in that particular play just always seem to miss each other. And it just reminds me of a Shakespearean plot like that, which I liked. It was,
which I guess is kind of fitting for the setting, in a way. And just generally, it's a comedy primarily in this, so it also works.
Bill, on the other hand, it seemed way too coincidental for him. For the Doctor and Vicky never to run into Barbara and Ian. Perhaps more importantly, he felt that it was anticlimactic, like a joke setup lasting for an hour that never gets to the punchline. I will talk to him about that later because, like I said, that's actually a Shakespearean style plot. So what he's saying is Shakespeare is anticlimactic, and I will have to kick him in the dick for that.
I don't know about anticlimactic, but I do know that I feel similar in that I don't like the constant not meeting up, because after a while it feels like you're just being strung along, and the coincidences of not meeting when you're so close to one another so often is just kind of mind-numbingly what the hell-ish. It's like, okay.
Okay, so I have two people I need to kick in the dick now. Because Shakespeare did shit like this all the time, and that's fucking Shakespeare.
Don't care who wrote it, it's still not my favorite kind of writing. There's only so much I can stretch my disbelief before I'm just going, they would have met by now. if they're so close like this.
You never know. The world can do weird things like that. I have the reverse happen to me. I keep running into people from Wazika, which is a small town.
Just a moment. Got an idea here.
That took my blood last week was from the same fucking population 300 town.
Show the
Why
new
are
human.
you all in Madison? But anyway. I said what Bill's dislike was. Tim, what did you dislike about the cereal?
I disliked the beginning where it like they were just like hanging out in Rome, having a vacation, or not Rome, but in the Roman Empire. And it seemed like there was really no impetus for the story proper to start until the doctor just decided, I'm going to Rome for a few days, and then it's like, okay, but like, that could have been written, I think, a bit more compellingly.
I didn't like the fact that they were taking a vacation because, that doesn't bother me. It's all the trouble they've had all of freaking last season, all of like Invasion of Earth, all of that. They haven't really had a chance to take a break before. But the doctor's just like, I'm going to Rome, and he never really tells us why. He's just like, I'm going to Rome. It's like,
And I believe at one point he even mentions he was there before once. And it's just like, why you need to go now?
that bothered me, the fact that there was no reasoning behind him going to Rome. If he had just said, I'm going for a walk, I'll be back later, I'm going for a walk, and Vicky decides to go with them, and then they get mistaken for these two. At the same time, the slavers attack the house and take Barbara and Ian. That would have made more sense. The doctor going for a simple walk is, more plausible than just him randomly deciding to go to Rome from wherever the hell they were. Where did they say they were at? They gave it a name.
Let's see.
I just remember them calling the village or town, and I forget what
Yeah,
else.
it's just like, yeah.
They were pretty generic about it, as far as I remember.
Yeah, they just say they're like a few miles out from Rome. I don't think they ever specify. They're just like in a Roman villa somewhere.
I swear to God, they named it, but it was not until the very last where they say, where are you heading? North to this location, and I don't remember where that was. Assisium is where they say. I had to look it up on TARDIS Data Core.
Yeah, I'm not finding it. I'm looking at a pretty detailed thing myself, and it's like, okay, I'm just not seeing anything.
Well, it's either that's where they came from, or that's like a stop overnight. Because that's where the Doctor and Vicky are for a bit, and the Doctor gets attacked by that mute that's had his tongue cut out. And then they move on again from there.
That's as best I can find.
Yeah, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine,
Anyway,
so that might be it.
but again, if you're there, why the fuck do you need to go to Rome? I don't get it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense on why he just decided to suddenly up and go to Rome.
Because the plot finally kicked in.
Yeah, because I mean,
he's like, we've been here for a couple of months.
The only reason to do it is to start the plot. But there's better ways. There's better, smoother ways of doing it than just going to Rome.
The cameras are on us. I've decided I need to start the plot.
I'm bored, Morty. I'm gonna go to Rome. Bye.
Well, like Rome was the Hollywood of the ancient world. You know, everyone wants to go to Hollywood. Everyone wants to go to Rome. You know, so.
Screw you guys. I'm going alone. Except for this child, of course. Bye.
Also, isn't it that like they've been there for a couple of months? It's like, how have they not been to Rome yet? If they've been there
because they didn't bother going there. It's far away, apparently.
Yeah, they basically hung out there a month, and then the doctor decides out of the blue, going to Rome, taking girl Morty with me and going to Rome. I'm like, the fuck? It's just completely, like, I'm bored.
If he to be fair, that is kind of the Doctor. He will get bored like that. So I guess if anything, it's more surprising that they were able to stay somewhere for a month without anything happening.
Not really. I mean, they were staying at a villa with somebody who was in a campaign in Gaul. And those campaigns, okay, I just found out where they were versus where Rome was. Apparently, the Assisium is now just Assisi. Oh. And that's a good fucking long ass walk to Rome.
Well, yeah. Supposedly, they do mention at certain points that it took them multiple days to get there. I think, I think after the attempted assassination and the kidnapping of Barbara and Ian, they suddenly fast forward to days later.
Yeah, and they've been transported some of the way by then anyway, rather than having to walk.
But let's see. I just want to know the distance. 188 kilometers. So the doctor just abruptly decides, I'm going to walk nearly 200 kilometers to Rome. See you guys in, a month. That seems a little much, don't you think? It would take constant walking 33 hours to get from there to Rome.
Of course, we also don't know. When he gets picked up by that guard, it's also like, okay, so did they like take them back by horse to get to Rome from there once they meet up with him, or like what? Or did they just walk the rest of the way anyway?
I'm just saying that seems to be a little bit beyond what the doctor would normally do. It's just a little too abrupt. Okay. So, whose was that?
I think that was Tim's again.
Yep, that was mine.
Yeah, we keep getting tangenting on yours, Thomas.
Let's see. I guess just some of the music choices are like, some work, but others are just like, okay, what? Like I can't off the top of my head pick out any scenes, though I think like I think I remember the scene where Ian and Barbara get captured has some music that I'm like, really? This doesn't really. I mean, there's only so much they can really do anyway, so it's more of a nitpick. But it's still just kind of like, I don't know. Like, it's not all the time, but there are times where the music just feels a bit off for considering the setting.
Once again, I wanted to dub in Star Trek combat music over the gladiatorial fight.
I always want to do that.
Well, Ian is kind of like the James Kirk of early Doctor Who. Only he doesn't get to sleep with the green alien women. Because Barbara would kill him. All right, Matt.
So instead, he just ventures for Barbara scolding him. I'm going to say that while I liked a lot of things about this, one of the things that I kept noticing a lot is that damn set wall again. Just like the story that's coming up after this one, I kept seeing the wall and it became more and more obvious, especially in the Emperor's palace, because the floors, while they were trying to do a really good job of trying to hide the wall by painting like extended hallways and floors and stuff, the problem is that apparently the people who made the set and the people who made the background painting weren't talking, and the floor tiles don't match up like at all, and it's very obvious. And also the lighting guys did nothing to hide the obvious wall paintings either, so it's just oof. It's almost as bad as the next episode. The next episode, I would still dare say it was worse because you can literally see the shadows cast on it.
All right. So my least favorite part about this serial, I had, but I've lost it. I think it's the Doctor's almost casualness in dealing with the situation that he's gotten himself embroiled into. He's almost giddy all the time. Oh yes, I'm in a court intrigue and they're trying to kill me. I'm like, fuck you.
I mean, for the Doctor, this really is just another day of the week, so.
It is, but at the same time, there's a thing to, there's a point where you stop being happy and start taking it seriously. It never seems to happen here.
I mean, there is like a little moment where they're like, oh yes, killing Nero. Wait, what? Killing Nero? I don't agree to that.
And then he's like, oh, so that's what's going on. And
yeah.
I think it's supposed to be part of their plan to try to soften the Doctor's character, but they weren't quite sure how to do it yet.
Yeah, they weren't sure how to do it, and then instead heel turned way too hard in the complete opposite direction and just made you go, oh.
I mean, I never minded when he was giddy at scientific discovery, because that made sense. But there's really no scientific discovery here. And it just basically kind of turned him into a general cluelessness that just kind of annoyed me. All right, favorite scene. Bill took the obvious one, and that's the Emperor's new music scene. He was sure that was the obvious one, but it was still a fun reference to see, and a clever way for the Doctor to get beyond his own lack of skill. Perhaps too clever considering how it turned out. I would like to note that the Doctor apparently learns how to play stringed instruments in the next 300 years. Because remember the fifth Doctor playing the harp of Rassilon. Like a master.
Yeah.
I just remember the 12th Doctor playing guitar.
Either still works.
Either way, he's apparently learned how to play his strings somewhere in this.
Yeah. I just remember this like initially confusing me because I was like, wait, did did the audio cut out? And then when they bring it up later that he was bullshitting the whole time, and no one wanted to admit it. I was like, oh, okay.
I swear to God, if it wasn't so remarkably fourth wall breaking, I swear to God, I wanted someone to stand up and go, "You bastard! You just had to end that on shaving a haircut, didn't you?" All right, so, Tim.
Okay, since Bill took the obvious one, I'm gonna go with the one where Barbara gives Ian a makeover and styles his hair to look more like the Romans do, because like when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Yeah, just stole mine.
Oh.
Although mine is more that whole general part where Ian and Barbara are alone, because you can tell that when they started this adventure, they were co-workers, friends at best, and now you can actually see that they're kind of actively flirting with each other. And I like that because it was character development.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, if things hadn't gone sideways, how much of that would have ended in hanky-panky. All right. Thomas?
I will admit, I must have missed this on my watch, but then the behind the scenes thing I was watching used this scene, and I just couldn't help but laugh, so I'm just going to go with it, even though it's fairly obvious. It's the Chesterfield. No, it's Chesterton. Look, Barbara's calling you.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Is that also in the beginning?
That was the first episode. Yeah.
Yep. Matt?
I'm trying to remember. I had a scene. I just had like a few moments ago. Oh, come on, brain. Why can't you just not be a goldfish right now? Oh, bro. Like, I had a really good scene. I remembered it. I had it, and then someone else's scene came up next, and I'm like, oh, and my brain just froze now. Forget. Oh, right. Remembering names. That's not what I want you to do at all. Wait, you. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the character's name again.
Tavius?
Tavius. I just found it. Tavius throughout interested me, but that last scene with him in the final episode was actually a really good, just like final piece of the puzzle for me. And it's just like, oh wow, he doesn't even need to say much, and you're just getting all kinds of layers out of this guy now at the end of the plot.
All right. So Tim took Ian and Barbara before they left. I'm going to take Ian and Barbara after they get back at the end of the last episode. And they're freaking arguing about, who caused this, who caused that. And like Ian's basically about to dunk Barbara into the fountain. Again, it's basically more flirting.
Yeah.
And I just like, I don't know why, I just like seeing that. All right, least favorite scenes. And we go with Bill. And basically, it's the doctor being a crotchety old man for the sake of it. As Ian said, no matter what Barbara said, he would have been an asshole. Season and a half of the show, and it's getting old and tired. It's fair to say he would have been bored and looking for literally anything to do, but being a consistent asshole is just frustrating to watch. I really didn't see him as being an asshole. I see him as being old and crotchety. But
Yeah.
again,
He's being a grumpy old man.
his reason for doing this is my problem with that, is the fact that he has no reason to say, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving."
Yeah.
All right, Tim.
All right, my least favorite scene is the scene where the Doctor and Vicky sit on a bench and watch Rome burn. Just this scene really struck me, especially in light of what's going on in the world today. Just like the casual like disregard of human life, and like just like the like how quaint and charming. Like people are like burning to death is like
Right.
is
Yeah.
just like like this like it made me physically ill, to be honest. Like
Like you directly compare this to like fires of Pompeii, where they're like crying and wailing over how it's like, oh fuck, Pompeii is being destroyed, compared to this where they're just like, oh yes, a part of history. We get to watch a bunch of people die at a distance. It's like, wow. I mean, they never bring it up, but it's like, yeah. Yeah.
I don't even see a list of how many people died in the Great Fire.
I'm sure there's plenty, because it's a great freaking fire.
Yeah. There had to be. I just, thought there might have been a list of approximately how many casualties or what percentage of Rome died. But apparently all of that was lost
that's
to
facts
history.
lost in time, yeah.
It was also bad because some of most of Rome was made of wood. And it was old wood.
Yeah, by this time it would be old wood, because that city been up for quite some time.
Yeah, and old wood goes up like matchsticks. It's just whoosh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You just used a sound effect that's a meme now. Whoosh.
I have accounts of when my grandmother's house, when they burned that down, and that was a controlled burn by the fire department. And that house was probably about 150 years old. The firemen that lit the fire barely got out before the house went up.
Ooh.
So when I say whoosh, it's whoosh. Now, this is Rome. Rome had been there for hundreds of years. Damn near 1,000 years, I think, at this point.
I doubt that the original wood was still there, but I guarantee you a good portion of it was still a couple hundred years old.
I mean, the Rome was founded like thousands of years back, and the modern Rome, I'm saying, was probably about 250 to 300 years old. So that stuff had to go up like nothing.
Oh yeah. If 150 went up like nothing, it's probably pushing 200 and went even faster.
So there had to be people that were in those houses that didn't have a chance to get out of them.
Hell, there's probably some people that are burned alive without even waking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah, I don't know what the population of ancient Rome was, but it had to be. It was the biggest city in the Roman world. And like 80% of it went up.
So I would have guessed at least a good 60% or more probably went with it.
And the doctor's just sitting here looking at this going, look, you're looking at history.
Yeah.
Look, we're looking at an asshole.
Yeah,
I was shocked at Vicky's response to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, even if she had said that, the doctor, if the doctor had looked at her and goes, "Think of the lives, child,"
Yeah.
instead he comes off and is almost giddy that he's the one that may have caused
Yeah.
this. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
Not looking at history in the right light here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, there's that moment where it's like, my fault. And then, like, he just kind of progressively starts laughing about it. And it's like, wow.
Wow, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Thomas. All right, what about your least favorite scene?
Let's see. I feel like I had a backup because I feel like the one Tim went with was probably my front runner. But I feel like I had other ones.
Tim, just stealing them from everybody today.
Ha
God. I guess just the bit at the end where it's more just to pick something, but the bit at the end.
Is Thomas going robot to
Ian
anyone
and
else?
also
Barbara
to Alice,
aren't allowed to
too.
get a word in edgewise.
There we go.
Like,
Sorry, you were going super robot. You're saying? Thomas? Oh boy, he might have just died. Oh, hello.
oh well.
Okay, apparently we'll need to get back to Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you good now?
Yep, I think that might just be because the internet dipped out a little.
Apparently.
For
Yeah.
a little while, yeah. So you were
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I forgot to plug in my Ethernet cable, so oh well.
Oh, that would help.
So the took this long to dip is kind of amazing. But yeah, I would go with the bit at the end where Ian and Barbara are trying to explain what happened to them, and the doctor's just not even letting them get a word in. Just for like, it doesn't bug me too much, but it's like just to pick something at all because it's just kind of like, wow,
Well,
he
just
doesn't
let you
even
see Papa Grip in their
explain.
mouth.
Yeah.
Just a little bit over ridiculous.
That was taking it a bit too far, but yeah. All right, so my least favorite scene. Yes, man.
Skipping Thomas to you.
Wait.
Waves.
That's Matt.
Oh, sorry, I had the order in my head wrong. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna say the trying to think. I guess the least favorite thing for me, just the fact that we couldn't even fake playing the harps very well in this. Like you could tell they're not even trying to stroke particular strings or anything like this, and yet it's the main focus of a lot of the story. And you just literally see Hardnell just brushing his hand back and forth very obviously, as then suddenly he hits recorder in the background to play harp music. And it doesn't even just happen for him; it's also for for Nero as well. So it's like, ugh. It really felt underwhelming.
Well, I doubt they had the money to train the actors to play professionally.
Yeah, but I feel like on some level you could at least fake trying. Especially if you could hear the music a few times beforehand.
I don't know. It might have been harder for them to overdub it if they actually hit the strings. I don't know. We are talking BBC 1964, so that would be you know, 1959 U.S. technology, more or less.
Still, I feel like if the actors could hear the music beforehand, they could at least try to fake plucking the strings as opposed to just literally flat hand waving across strings,
Mm.
which they literally did several times, which bothered the hell out of me.
Again, it might be stage evolution versus television evolution. That might be what they do on stage.
Hmm.
I don't know really.
I would still argue on that too. But anyways, that's just something that took me out of it a couple of times.
All right. So my least favorite scene, and now my brain is completely lost where it was.
Welcome to where I was.
Frack.
Just skip for now.
Yeah, I think I'll just skip because I can't think of a particular least favorite scene that hasn't already been covered.
Yeah, of course. Of course, as I was setting up a wired connection because I dipped out for a bit so I could sort that out just in case. It occurred to me that another one I probably would have brought up instead was there's a bit where like two people are like two gladiators or whatever are training, but it's very clear that neither of these actors are that okay with it or that comfortable or something with it because maybe the weapons aren't
Yeah, they're
maybe the weapons
barely
aren't fake or something.
they're barely
like
trying to smack
barely
each other's
touching it.
swords, and they're and they're not even doing that very well.
Yeah, like neither of them are all that comfortable doing this, so it just looks we don't really want to accidentally hit each other, so we're just doing it as lightly as possible.
I don't want to break the cardboard.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to final thoughts. Bill's was... This is the first Spooner historical, the first time it's written to be a comedy set in a historical setting rather than an edutainment drama. This new style is very clear in its presentation, particularly the character of Nero. I'm probably not alone in preferring the more historically accurate stories over the comedic characterizations, although both styles have their strengths. Overall, he's not a huge fan of this story. Between the framing location, which makes little or no sense from a character perspective, the Doctor repeating all of his worst traits, and the big gag of the story never resolving, it left me disappointed. Or left him disappointed. All right.
I will point out technically this was Dennis Spooner's second because he did Reign of Terror.
Okay. Well, we'll have to correct Bill on that next week.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Although I don't remember Reign of Terror being a comedy, so this might be the first of the Spooner style.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of his particular style. Anyway.
He might... was Reign a rewrite of his? Or was it like somebody... Did he rewrite somebody else's story?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Anyway. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought this had some pretty good performances by the Romans, but this episode just hit me with waves of like negativity and injustice, and it just like struck a real bad chord with me. Like I can appreciate the humor of some situations and like what Randy called the Shakespearean aspect of it, but like just the heart for William Hartnell episode, this had very little heart, and I'll admit that I might have watched this at the wrong time in history.
That could probably feed negatively to you, yeah. I try to leave current events out of anything I'm watching at the time, at least.
Yeah, but the scenes in the some scenes in this episode were too on the nose for me to like ignore the connections. But like I said, the one good thing about this was the performances and the Shakespearean writing.
All right.
Other than that, yeah.
All right, Thomas.
I liked this serial. I don't know, like I could see myself watching this again. I don't know how often. I mean, God knows it's better than what comes directly after it, which is Web Planet.
Like we said, the worst
yeah.
episode ever.
yeah. God knows the pacing is a lot better. I mean, it didn't. I'll say this much: it did not keep my attention as much as some other stories have. So there were probably like bits and pieces I flat out missed because I was just doing other stuff. Or like something else got my interest, so I was like Googling something or whatever while having it on in the background. It's not a bad serial, but yeah, like there's better. There's probably better from this era, as well. And yeah, like weird tonal problems with the with like the end of them just kind of watching the world burn and just being like, yay, part of history kind of shit. Apart from that, like
History,
mm.
yay!
Yeah.
Major
It's
deaths,
like that aside, none of the acting bothered me, so the acting was at least good enough to elevate it to higher than I would probably have thought of it otherwise. Like if they'd played this completely straight, I don't think it would have worked. So I was kind of glad to have the comedy there. But yeah, I would, you know, I feel like if people are gonna watch this, they might as well just watch the one directly before this, The Rescue, along with it, just so you get like um the first two stories of Vicky in a row. Which I almost did, and then I think I got bored the first time I tried watching this, back when we covered The Rescue. So I was just like, I just kind of got bored during the first episode, or just got distracted.
I think
so
you're
I
just
just
easily
never
distracted,
finished
yeah.
it. But yeah, so like, yeah, this isn't bad at all. It's the best part is the acting, definitely. But yeah, it's 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 good, not great, but it doesn't turn back around and become terrible either.
All right. So my thought on this.
Wow, you're skipping me again.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
God dang.
I'm sorry, I got that in my head.
So anyway, mine's pretty quick and to the point. There are some questionable moments, yes, especially in hindsight, with the whole burning of Rome thing and being giddy about it is really awkward. But I will say that the rest of the episode holds up really well, especially when the Doctor isn't being too comical. As a matter of fact, actually, the Barbara Ian story is probably the best thing about this whole thing. And there's a lot to like there, and some of the characters that tie to them also come off really well done. It might have been actually a better idea to keep Nero in the background and maybe have very quick glimpses of him as he's being psychotic. But otherwise, I will say that while it's a little bit mixed, I still think it's definitely within the good realm. It doesn't get so bad as to completely ruin it for you.
All right. So my thought. It's a good episode. Not a great episode. It's good. Has its flaws, but the character acting is good, and some of the subplots are decent. it's historically okay, but like I said, we really don't know much about that era that isn't tainted by other historical figures, or
Mm-hmm.
so kind of hard to tell what Nero was really like.
Yeah, it's a part of history that's tainted with revisionism up the wazoo.
Mhm.
So they went their own take on it, and that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Nero did become a little bit Benny Hillish, but he's the emperor, It's good to be the emperor, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Some parts of it does come off as particularly callous. Oh yeah, I'm the court prisoner. That's what I do. And Hartnell, like we've said, just completely shrugging the fact that they're just killing, 500,000 people or whatever died in the Great Fire of Rome.
Mm.
So yeah, I think like there's some major flaws in it, but there's also some good points. So, let's go to ratings. Bill once again gives this a 2.5.
Wow.
Yep.
Extremely
is
negative
just-
Bill.
Yep.
All right. Tim.
And I'm gonna have to side with Bell. Give this a 2.5.
Wow.
Wow.
I guess
That may be the lowest score Tim has ever given an episode.
Mm.
Well, I don't know. What did he give Journey to the Center of the TARDIS?
Was he with us for that one?
I don't know.
Um,
We would have to look. But we'll do
Tim
that.
Tim was not present for that one.
Oh boy. That might be the record breaker. We'll have to have him sit down and watch that sometime. Anyway.
Anyway, Thomas.
Yep.
Um. Hmm. I know it's generally going to be higher than them, but I'm just thinking, how much does the acting push it for me? Let's see. Where are we? Comparing it to other stuff this season. I think I'll give it a 3.5.
All right. Matt.
I'm actually there with Thomas as well. There's stuff that makes up for some of the big flubs, especially the butchering of the Doctor's character in his story, but it's not enough to give 4 yet. It would need some major patchwork.
I am debating. I think I'm going to be with you two and give it a 3.5. I was debating giving it a 3, but I will give it that 3.5 just because I really like the Ian and Barbara stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And that will average the episode to a 3.1, which puts it really low at 278
Ooh.
out of 343 things reviewed.
Wow, that's basically a basement dweller at this point.
Yeah, well, once we get down into the threes, yeah.
I might rewatch this episode again in like maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I'll give
after
this like a
things have-
year or so pass and then come back to it when there's less like world falling apart shit and give it another go.
Yeah.
Because apparently that might have had too much of a direct pull on you. Because let's be fair, you're in a rough neighborhood right now with all this stuff going on.
Yep.
All right, so once again, it is on par with actually not a lot. The Sea Devils, Planet of Fire, Survival, The Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Asylum of it's on par with Asylum of the Daleks, Cold War, Rings of Akaton. It is better than The Wheel in Space, The End of Time, The Beast Below, Deep Breath, The Smugglers, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, The Lazarus Experiment, etc., and not as good as Arc of Infinity, The Abominable Snowman, Robot, oh my god, Time Lash, Stones of Blood, The Highlanders, The Daleks' Master Plan, etc. There we go. Once again, 278 out of 343. That is all we have to say about the Romans.
All right, since we don't have a bill here, I will take you out on the outro. Thank you all very much for watching. If you want to check us out, you can check us out on Unearthly Podcast on YouTube. Check out our live streams as we do them every Wednesday night on Twitch at Unearthly Podcast there. You can also check us out for more updates and messages on Twitter or Facebook with Unearthly Pod on Twitter and Unearthly Podcast on Facebook. And if you enjoy the show enough that you wish to help donate to us and help us maybe like buy Big Finish things or something later on, you can always check out our Patreon at An Unearthly Podcast.
All right, so next week we're going to continue moving through our unreviewed episodes of Season 2 and going to take a slight trip to the future. We are going to the Space Museum, written by Glyn Jones and starring William Hartnell as the Doctor, Jacqueline Hill as Barbara Wright, William Russell as Ian Chesterton, and Maureen O'Brien as Vicky. See you next week.
I remember liking this one. Good night.